weird part. You're like, and we're live. We're live. Hey, dream builders, come on into the room. That's for my dream builders that are believers. You know what that song is. Hey, everyone. I'm super excited that you're here because I have a special guest, not just one guest, but two guests. So, typically we don't have two guests. You guys can hear me, right? Everything is clear. Ready to learn, Nia? Awesome. Timura, I see you. Tressica, Kayla, let me know if you can hear me in the comments. So I had a little trouble with my audio earlier today. I was going live in the Dreamcatcher group and they couldn't hear me. So you guys can hear me, right? Just let me know clearly in the comments, but I think you can, because I heard myself for a brief second. All right, so today we are talking about marriage and money. Marriage and money. And I have my two marriage and money experts, my faves. I always get your name right. Talit.
There you go. You got it.
Yay, Talit. I was like saying over it. Ty and Talit. How cute are their names? So I'm going to just share their bio with you quickly, and then we're going to get into it. Okay, guys, good. You can hear me. Good. So about Talit. So Talit, he is a U.S. Army veteran turned special education teacher. Oh, a teacher after my own heart. I love me some teachers.
That's right.
I used to be a teacher. His understanding of money handling and management started out slow, which led him to face a consumer debt of around $30,000. Join the club. However, with the support of Ty, his awesome wife, as it often is, right? The family conquered that mountain of debt and learned many valuable lessons along the way. Oh, that's awesome, because to me, the best teachers are those who have gone through the process. So that is Ty. Here's Ty. Ty is a passionate Christ follower, proud wife, and mother of uno, dos, tres. You love my Spanish. Right? Ty has a bachelor's degree, a bachelor's of science degree in finance. Oh, I didn't know that. Additionally, Ty has held a Series 6, Series 6.3, and life and health insurance license. So those are your financial advisor's licenses, guys. Some of you might be like, a series what? She spent many years in the financial industry, helping people with loans, debts, and money matters. Loaded with experience and skills, she has now taken her knowledge to create this platform, hisandhermoney.com. Welcome.
Hey, we are glad to be here.
Yes, thanks so much for having us.
I'm so excited to be here. So welcome them, welcome our guests, you guys, in the comments. So I'm really excited because tonight we are going to be talking about marriage and money, and really how do you blend the two well? So I'm super excited because in 2 weeks, well, if you're watching this later, I'll be already married, whoop, whoop. But if you're watching this today live, I'm getting married in about 2 weeks. So this is a topic that I'm like, as you guys know, the Live Richer Academy is not about me being the expert. It's about finding the experts out there and bringing them to you. So I'm going to start with my questions. And if you guys have questions, please ask them. Even if you're not married, I believe in preparation. Yeah. If you're not married, but you want to be married one day, then this is ask questions now as well. All right. So what kind of conversation, Ty and Talit, should me? So my fiance, I gave him the nickname Superman. Right. So that way, because, I chose to be the budgetista out here in the world. So I like to protect his identity. Right. Yeah. So what questions or what conversations should Superman and I be having now before we get married?
Yeah. So before Tyler and I got married, we had a lot of money conversations. We even sat down with our pastor, had premarital counseling. So it started there for us. So I highly recommend that you talk about your debt. You talk about, how do you feel about debt? Are you comfortable with taking out loans? If so, what type of loans? I would also suggest that you also discuss credit and pull your credit reports. That's something that Tyler and I did. Okay. We pulled all three credit reports from all three of the bureaus, and we started to study them and dissect them together. And that's how I was able to ask a lot of questions about his debt.
Yeah, and I think that it's also important that in addition to looking at the past, you look at the future. Yep. Because if you're 2 weeks out, and if for all the people from Live Richer Academy that's listening, and they are with somebody that they know they want to marry, and you all are having those type of conversations, you talk about the future, because you're coming into this relationship with two different backgrounds, two different ideologies. One of you all might have grew up in a house where the father paid all the bills, or one of you might have grew up in a house where the mother paid all the bills. And so just a simple conversation like, so who's going to pay the bills?
Okay.
Who's responsible for what? That's not something you want to find out when you come back from the honeymoon. Yeah. That's something you need to discuss and hash out your differences of opinions and come to some type of common ground. I think a lot of times we miss the smaller conversations. We know, like, what your credit score is, because I know I want to get a house one day. What's your credit score? Maybe you talk about debt, but you don't talk about just how to do life from a financial standpoint. Like, how much you paying for your cell phone bill? How much is your car note? What will our bills like once we combine our lives together? What will our monthly outgo be? What's our monthly income going to be?
Okay.
Do you budget? What's a budget?
Yeah. How do you want to handle your accounts? You want joint accounts or separate accounts?
You got to have those.
Or if we start having children in the future, how would you feel if one of us came home to take care of the kids? These type of conversations need to be had.
One thing we find that a lot of people fall into, and we were so fortunate to come across this book way back when, like 12 years ago.
I'm like, hold on, let me get a pen now. They know. I'm like,
we suggest anybody that's about to get married read The Two Income Trap by Elizabeth Warren. This is before she became a senator. She was just a professor. She was a professor when she wrote this book with her daughter. And to give a quick overview of it, a lot of times our culture gives us the picture of, so Tiff has an income, Superman has an income. We're about to get married. Let's go buy a house based on our two incomes. Let's get vehicles based on our two incomes. Let's build a lifestyle based on our two incomes. And then 5 years from now, you know what? I think I want to come home and be at home full time. I think, now that we have little kids, I think I want to spend a few years in direct contact with them. I don't want to put them in childcare for the first 3 years of their life. I would like to come home, but wait, you're trapped because your mortgage payment is dependent upon two incomes. Those cars in the driveway are dependent upon two incomes. The lifestyle that you live is dependent upon two incomes. So from day one of our marriage, when we got married 11 years ago, we have only ever lived off one income. We built our life off one income, and we used the other income in that first year to get out of debt. And since then, we've used the additional income for things like investments or business entrepreneurship opportunities and to give. So we highly suggest that you don't fall into that trap. Avoid it if at all possible.
Because I'm home now. I never thought that I would come home to be with my children.
She was full-fledged.
I love working outside home.
Working award-winning.
I know, like I was about to say, like, don't let Ty fool you. Right? She's been on TV. She used to be like, right? She's been all like, oh, he's still up now. She was on. She and her sister. What was your professional name?
The Double Saving Divas.
The Double Saving Divas. They have been on like every show you can think of, and like they were go-to experts. So to think, that now you're home. How old are your children, if you don't mind me asking?
We have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
Oh, yeah. That's the aim.
Boom, I'm the taxi driver. I'm everything. Okay? Woo!
I love, so for those of you who are watching, you might have just joined because you're late. That's okay. Now, we are speaking with talent. I always want to talent. Okay, good. I gotta be talented, right? I do. I would say it with say it with your chest, right? Kevin Hart, right? So Talent and Ty, they are married and they are financial experts, and they're really teaching us that what are some things you can do before and during your marriage to make sure that your finances are in harmony, right? And so thing number one, so if you've been paying attention, you're listening, a big takeaway that I've just taken away from this is that two income trap, really learning to live off one person's salary. My sister, she and her husband, I think they've been married about 5 or 6 years now. And she told me that's what they do. She's a scientist and he's a doctor. They live off one income and save the other. So, and then having those premarital conversations, like you ask, what are your, what's your credit? Do you have debt? Kind of like, who do you think would pay the bills? So these are the kind of conversations. Thankfully, I've had most of these. But what if, because Superman, he's come a long way. He's not been a budgeter, but he paid his bills on time. Honestly, he didn't have any debt. But he also, I felt like, wasn't, it's like he was just maintaining. So, and I was just like, well, how do we kind of elevate to the next level? And he was like, well, I'm fine. What's the need to go to the next level? I'm fine. So we had this difference of opinion. And so how do you, because I didn't want to be someone who was like, well, pushing or like forcing him to do what I thought was right. So how do you manage when you both have two different thoughts about money? It doesn't mean that one is right and one is wrong, but how do you blend those thoughts without it leading to like arguments and stuff?
Yeah. Well, something that we've adopted early on in our marriage was we allowed both of us to be ourselves. So Talent was the spender. He loved to just be spontaneous and just do different things. And I always like to plan. And I was the saver. But then I realized that I needed to adopt some of his principles, and he also needed to adopt some of mine. So we started to incorporate that. Whereas maybe, you know, we had to plan for that vacation or had to plan for that spontaneous night out. But he felt like he got, you know, something out of it, and I felt like I got something out of it by planning. So I would definitely suggest that too.
I think it's also important to find out the why.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Superman is comfortable.
And that's very common.
At the level that he's at. And maybe he doesn't, maybe he needs you to pull out some dormant dreams that's inside of him, or some aspirations that he has that he let go because he got into this place and he's comfortable at the level. And he forgot about what he dreamed about when he was 13, doing what it's like. And maybe you all need to have some conversation, not about the what or the how, but talking about just the why. Like maybe this is dream builders, right? Maybe you all go sit down at a nice restaurant and just dream like 5 years from now. Nothing to do with Tiff's side of the equation, but just what does Superman want to see? Because I know he's a big giver in the neighborhood, and all the neighborhood come to him, and he pours into them. Where do you want to see that go? And then based on those dreams and based on those things that he puts out, now you can start talking about the X's and O's. Well, we can get there if we do X, Y, and Z. And if you put the why behind the what you're asking him when you say, let's go to the next level, he doesn't see like what the next level, like, wow, what's the point? That's what he's saying. And so you have to wrap a dream of his around this goal to help him see why it would be beneficial for his life if he did this, that, and the other to elevate.
Okay, and I like that because I know that some of the differences come because we grew up differently. You know, I grew up in a two-family household. My parents both went to college. They both have their masters. They pushed us. They were immigrants. They pushed us, and education was first. He grew up in a one family household, and in Newark, like during when Newark was really Newark, New Jersey, which like really a hard upbringing, and it was just enough like stay alive and finish high school. That like, so, you know, to him, it's like, I've succeeded. Most of my friends are dead or in jail. I'm actually doing great, you know? And so not wanting to, because you don't want, I mean, this is the person you love. You don't want them to feel like you're saying, well, that's not good enough, you know, because he's come so far, probably further than I have from where I started. When you really look at it, you know, you know, so I think like I started here and I moved here. He started here and his moved here. Yes. You know, so I want to honor the fact that like you've come so far, but there's even bigger dreams. But I like that, Talent. I'm definitely going to, I never thought about it that way. Like really just asking him like, pull out that 13-year-old dream. What did you want to do? What did you want to be? You know?
Because nobody knows him like you know him. You guys have been together for a while. So you see there's certain things that make him light up when he does them. Like it's effortless. It exudes from him. And so we need to figure out like, okay, I see this is your thing. This is your gift. And the reason he lights up is because that's a burden that was placed in him from birth. And so he's the answer to a problem out here in the world. We're all here to solve something. We're all here with a purpose. Like none of us are here by accident, and none of us are here to just coast and get by. Like we all have a God-given thing that we're supposed to do. And so we need to figure out what that thing is and how we can maximize on it. Like I said, I seen you put the pictures out. He's giving out pizza and things like that. So maybe there's an after-school program that people want to do. And you know the school system, and you know it requires funding, or maybe there's a
they both can work together. She can bring the,
you know what I'm saying? You guys can merge your two strengths and make something big and make something awesome that solves a need in that community, but that requires funding. And so this is what we got to do.
Yeah. So Fancy has a question. She said she's like, you know, she agrees that you should be asking these kind of pre-marriage questions, but do you ask this before dating? You know, like how soon when you meet someone, do you start kind of asking these financial questions? And how soon is too soon? And, basically, how soon is too soon? And when should you start?
You know what? We always tell people, you'll know when the time is right. We can't say that be 2 months or 2 days.
Or day
you'll
3 or
know.
day 4,
You'll know. Just like when you found that perfect home, and for those who may have purchased their home, you know the house when you see it, right? So you're going to know the man or the woman that you're probably going to spend your life with, after a few dates, maybe even a few months. When I met Talent, I knew almost right away that he was marriage material and that he was somebody
you know.
I knew.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we started to have those conversations. We didn't wait. Yeah.
And I think probably at first you should just be in observation mode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you all are going out. Does he always pull out a credit card? Is it always a credit card?
You see where they say debit on it?
And just observe spending habits. Observe just the way they interact with money, and just take note of it. And then as you all start to progress and you start to see that there is some seriousness behind it, then you can gradually upgrade the conversation. But you don't want to be on debt one. So just credit score about 650, because I'm working with an 800 and I need to know what you're working with. Like, you don't want to do that on day one, because you're gonna run the other way. And guess what? Here's another point. The man or the woman that you're with now is not going to be the same person 5 years from now. We met, my credit score was subpar.
Yep.
Okay.
I was a good person, but my financial literacy was low.
Okay.
I didn't know what I was doing with money.
So
if you just base it off numbers,
right.
you're going to miss potentially a blessing in your life.
I was able to step back and I saw that Talent was an extremely hard worker. He was not lazy by any means. He would work hard for a dollar. So I saw that, and that was attractive to me. I also saw that he didn't like his current position that he was in. He wasn't comfortable. He was like, no, I'm not liking this, and I want out. And so then once I saw that, and I saw that he was putting the two together, working hard to get out, I knew, okay, I can work with this. His debt now became our debt, and I was able to work with it.
Okay. So I like that, because I think somebody had posted in the Dreamcatcher group the other day, like if you're, someone you were interested in didn't have good credit, is that a deal breaker? And it was interesting to see the Dreamcatcher's reactions. And I said it wasn't a deal breaker to me, because same thing, when I met Superman, he didn't even know. He's like, what's the credit score? Of course he knew kind of, he didn't really know his. And so we pulled it up and it was in the low 600s, even though he didn't have any debt really. He didn't. And I was trying to figure out why, because I'm like, he's like, are you paying your bills on time? He's like, I am. And what it was that he went to get a secured card to raise his credit at some point. And the limit was like $500 and his balance was like $590 or $490. And I said, well, why? Yes. And I said, well, why is your balance so high? He said, oh, well, I ran it up on purpose to show I could use it. And I pay like $20 a month to show I know how to pay. I'm like, oh, so he's thinking like, okay, making regular payments. And I was just like, no, that your utilization is too high. Like how much of the credit, for those of you who are listening, who are like, what's utilization? That means how much of your credit limit that they are agreeing to lend to you are you actually borrowing? And it was way too high. And I said, well, do you have the money to pay it off? And he did. So he paid it off. It was literally the only thing on his credit report. He paid it off. Within 3 months, his credit score raised like 100 points. So like, what if I would have said, 6 something, I'm out,
Right.
Yeah. Marry somebody not based on the content of their credit, but based on the content of their character.
That's right. That's right.
That's who you marry. That's who you marry.
No, I like that. You guys have any questions? Make sure you ask. So we have Talent, we have Ty. They are financial experts, especially when it comes to money and relationships. We don't often have two guests here, husband and wife. They have 3 beautiful kids. So here's a great time to ask questions. If you're married or you're in a relationship and you're wanting to get married, or you're just in a relationship and you're trying to figure out what does that look like when it comes to marriage and when it comes to money in your relationship. If you have kids, so let's talk about kids a little bit, right? And so you said you have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
Yep.
So are you starting to teach them about money? What do those lessons kind of look like?
Yeah, absolutely. We do teach them about money. Each one of them, as soon as I was able to get their social security number, I opened up an account for them. And Tyler and I, we teach it, on their level. Of course, they're 7, 5, and 3. So we teach it like going out to the store. Mommy and daddy can't buy everything that you see. Okay, maybe you can put that down on the list and maybe we'll buy it later. But now my son is getting to the age where he's like, Mom, I'll buy it. Like these fidget spinners are out. He's like, Mom, I'll take my money and I'll buy it. And so we're teaching them it's okay to spend, but you also should save and give.
Okay. I like that.
Like you said, you got to do it at whatever level your kid is, and like, don't think it's too late, don't think it's too early. Just, you know, if we're talking about quarters that from grandma, or if we're talking about $100 birthday money from grandma because they're 13, or a graduation gift or things like that, you can still split it up, give, spend, and save. Like, what does that mean? Why is that important? What is a financial goal? Like, one day you're going to want to go to college, or you know, Christmas is right around the corner. Your birthday is right around the corner. You're going to get this birthday money. Like, what's the goal? Like, what's something that you would buy based on the money that you get? Well, you can only use a certain amount to spend. You got to put some away for savings, because one day you're going to want to buy something else. And just, you know, don't try to make it rocket science. Yeah,
and you don't have to hide numbers from your kids. No. I think that's a big thing a lot of parents do. They try to shield their children from any financial whatever out of fear. But no, we don't hide it from our children. We talk to them. They see us write the checks. They see us pay the bills. We tell them, no, the light bill is this. That's why we need to turn off the lights. You know, so we take lessons like that.
And I think that's part of your story, was that your dad used to sit you down and go over numbers with you. And you didn't understand it all right then, but it was a foundation that was laid that, you know, now we're all sitting here at the Dream Builders Live Richer Academy as a result of those conversations.
No, but you're right, though, because to me, the biggest lesson I learned wasn't even the specific little number lessons. It was that he trained me not to be afraid of the conversation of money. That's good. You know, because kids only do, you have a little one, they fall, and sometimes they're not sure how to feel about the fall, so they look at you like, and if you're like, oh my goodness, then they're like, and then if you're like, okay. And then so kids I find are looking at you to see what's your reaction to the money. And if your reaction is to be stressed out, to be angry, my father was always very matter of fact. So I always thought to myself, money's not that big of a deal. Like, you know, you save it, you give some, you know, but it's not this thing to be afraid of, because his reaction never showed me any fear. Even if he was feeling that, he never brought that to us. And so as a result, you know, I'm not afraid of money now. So I love that.
That's the thing. Kids are adaptable. We coach and we teach parents all the time. And so they're at a place where they want to change their financial situation, which is why they came to us. But then they have this fear, like after we give them the plan, oh, but my son or my daughter, they're not going to understand because I'm always giving them this and not giving them that. We're like, no, just be honest. Let them know, like, I messed up. And now we got to change things so we can get in a better place, so that you can have a better future. And no, it's not 10 times out of 10, the kids get it.
They do. In fact, some of them even help.
They get it.
Some of them even help.
So don't shield them. Don't be ashamed of it. Let them learn from your mistakes and your successes. That's how the next generation gets better.
So I'm going to ask some more of these questions. So guys, we're here with Ty and Talent. They are our money expert. They have a great website, hisandhermoney.com. They also, so if you're someone who's like, I need more videos in order to learn, right? They have a course, which is a series of 30 videos.
Yes.
Yep.
30 videos. And that course is called Teach Me How to Budget. It said, teach me how to Dougie, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Teach me how to budget. I have a link for you. It's going to be inside the Academy, but I'll also share it here in the comments if you're watching live. But I have a link for you that if you want to sign up for Teach Me How to Budget, because I know some people need step-by-step guidance, you know, and especially you might be somebody who needs not only just step-by-step guidance, but you need visual.
Yeah.
You know, the teacher read, that's Sally, right? All day, every day, right?
All day.
Right? So you might be a visual learner. So these series of videos that shows you step by step how to create and maintain your budget. I posted a link there. So this is their course. Go ahead.
Yeah, we left no stone unturned. Like there's nothing around budgeting that we didn't talk about. Whether you have a regular income, irregular income, whether you're married, whether you're single, budgeting for large purchases. Whatever topic around budgeting that you think you might need to know is in this course. Like we spent a year and a half making this one course and perfecting it to make sure that you can go from start to finish. Because you can't invest properly. You can't build wealth properly. You can't get out of debt properly until you learn how to budget properly. And so it's like, it's not the fancy, the bells and whistles that investment course might have, but guess what? You can go get that investment course and you're going to fail or crash and burn because you don't know how to even discipline your money well. So you got to start with the foundation. You can't put new siding and a new roof on a house with a broken foundation. So this is where you need to start.
So Dream Builders, I put the link, and like I said, it'll be on the Facebook page. For those who are watching live, I always post the links and resources at the top of the page, and it'll also be inside the Academy link with this lesson. So Sherry has a question. Sherry said, if you had a spouse who refused to pay their child support from a previous relationship with any regularity and is in and out of court, what advice would you have for that spouse? Okay, that's the question. So your spouse is unable or refusing to pay child support from a previous relationship, and they're in and out of a court. So this is obviously not just a financial issue, but what can you do in that situation? This is currently your spouse.
Well, I would question the why behind it. Like, okay, you're saying that he's refusing. Is there some type of dispute? Like, I know, for example, I've known someone who got an increase, like unbeknownst to them, like they just one day received this notification that their child support number was increasing because of something that happened in court. And so in their mind, they're like, wait a minute, where did this come from? And so they're like, I'm not paying this, I'm disputing this. So is this a dispute situation? Like you feel like something unjust is being done? Or is this, I'm just not going to pay? Like, because that's a character issue.
Yeah.
If it's just like, I'm not going to pay, I'll pay when I want to pay. That's a character issue.
That's very alarming to me because that shows no commitment. So I would question my relationship with that potential spouse or that spouse as well. If they don't even want to pay child support for their children, the commitment there is missing.
So when you're talking with men, you need to find out what the heart behind it is.
Okay. So like, is this a financial issue? Is this a character issue? Or is this like a dispute kind of like issue? So Sherry, that's what you're wanting to find out.
Because it sounds like this is something new. If this has been going on from day one, then I'm wondering, did we not see this flag before? But if this is something new, like what caused this pivot in his mindset to go from paying child support to saying I'll pay it here and there and everywhere? Like, is there a problem?
She said no dispute. They just pay when they want to.
And this has always been the case?
It seems like it.
Well, that's a character issue.
Yeah, that's a big character issue.
So you have to ask yourself, Sherry, like, well, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, that's a red flag to me.
So why? Have you all ever had the conversation around why? I don't know if there's a good why. There's not a good why, but he has a reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not saying it's a good reason, but that's a place to start the conversation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, there's things, we've been married 11 years now. There's some things that I was ignorant to. There's some bad habits that I had that only because I married her, because in my eyes, it was no big deal.
Okay.
But because I had a wife that pulled greatness out of me, I was able to see the wrong that I couldn't see before.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So there's a small potential to help open his eyes, but there's also a big potential that there's a character flaw here that may need some counseling that may be above what she can do. She may be able to plant a seed, but if he has a mindset of I'm going to pay child support whenever, there's a character flaw there, and there's something else underneath that needs to be addressed, whether there's some bitterness there.
Well, and we don't know all the details.
It's kind of hard to say.
I mean, he could very well be seeing his child every weekend or every other weekend and feeling like he's paying his part. Maybe he does spend money on the child. So we don't know that part of it. Maybe he is spending money, he just feels like I don't have to send this money too because I am taking care of the child 50-50 as well. That has happened too. So it just depends. We don't have all the details.
You got to find out why.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question is from Alan. Fancy. With kids, do you give them an allowance? What are your thoughts on allowances?
Yeah, so we're torn here. I grew up in a household where I felt like it was our duty to help clean the home and do certain things in the home because we were part of the family and everybody contributed. He grew up as the only child and he was given an allowance for doing certain things.
Okay.
So we're torn.
So we kind of have a blended mindset.
Yeah.
Okay.
We believe that there are going to be certain things that our kids do because their last name is our last name. But there'll be certain things that they can earn a commission for.
I like that.
Right?
Okay.
So we'll have certain things like, okay, like when I was growing up, there were things like I had to get up and I had to do the bathroom every week like that. But if I wanted some money, like my dad was like, okay, here, shiny shoes. Okay, go wash the car.
Okay.
Things like that, that'll have a dollar amount attached to it that they can earn money that way.
Okay.
We're going to have a modifier.
And I don't necessarily have a problem with that because, like, for example, our son, he just he was on the honor roll for 4 semesters, complete
Okay.
straight A's. And so we rewarded him for that. So I believe that you should reward your children and give them money and let them buy things, but it has to be a balance. Some children feel almost entitled. That's what I'm afraid of. And that's why I kind of steered away from the whole commission thing, because I never wanted my children to feel entitled. Like they expect to get paid every time they do something. No, you're going to do it because I told you to do it.
And the flip side of that, the reason why you want to have some things that have a dollar amount attached to it, because you want your children to understand that money comes from work. It doesn't come from asking mommy and dad. It comes from you doing
But
work.
let me tell you something.
You earn pay. And
you can still find other ways to teach your children that. For an example, I was 16 years old, working and going to school, paying my own car insurance and having to buy certain things. So my parents still taught me responsibility, you know, without necessarily giving me allowances every week.
I feel like well, this is what my dad did, my mom and dad did based upon our age range. At the time, honestly, we didn't really get much. I think I was getting like $20 every 2 weeks, something like you know, but like it was that's a
lot, Tiff.
I mean,
Tiff, that's a lot.
No, I was like a teenager. I was like a teenager, you know. But it wasn't tied to. We had a lot of chores, so that our allowance was just allowance. It wasn't tied to chores for us. It was just like, hey, you know, you're in a lead check, you get your allowance unless you did something wild, crazy, you know, you're talking too much in school, whatever. But you do chores regardless. I remember like what my mother. Right? I remember my mother would go food shopping. I mean, for a family of 7, I mean, her car would be packed. She knew, she pulled it to the driveway and that was all she wrote. But right, you had to take the food out, and then she would always buy things in bulk. I'm cutting chicken, cleaning chicken, bagging it. What? I mean, like, so, but that wasn't attached to our allowance. Our allowance just was, hey, you get allowance just because, but like, no, like the same thing. I had a bathroom, sweep down the stairs. I can remember like my set of like 5 chores, and we would do dishes for the week, and we would rotate dish week. You know,
were living in my home.
What? It was. I mean, I felt like, but at the same time, it made me really responsible. I mean, I didn't love chores, but it was not negotiable. There was no question about whether you're doing chores. It's going to get done. But yeah, so no, I like that blended mix. All right, so Caroline says, my husband makes about $80,000 a year, and his credit score is a 795. Okay, Caroline. She said, but however, his debt to income ratio is high. How can I engage him without seeming like a nag? We want to buy a house. How can I engage him to fix this conversation? Like, she basically is like, he's doing great, but that debt to income ratio is going to stop you guys from buying a house, no matter your credit score. So how does she talk to him about it without, you know, because, you know, that's my worry too, is that when I want to say that maybe there's a better way, but I also don't want to try to be leading and pulling my husband in a direction. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's just hard because you're wanting to suggest, you know, but you're not wanting to, like, I'm not the boss of anybody, you know? And so, like, how do you do that? So what can she do?
Dream. So we know that the house is the goal. So let's start looking at some homes. Let's start talking about, like, what neighborhoods do we want to live in? Like, how much mortgage can we, like, open houses, walking through the homes, and that becomes the starting point of the conversation. Like, you know, what do you think? 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms? Like, you want a backyard? You want a pool? Like, you know, you want a 2-car garage, a 3-car garage? Just dreaming, right? Just building this crystal clear picture of a target that you want to aim for. And then, you know, you say, okay, damn, come to some common ground. And then you start talking about the nuts and the bolts. Okay, so if this is the neighborhood, so I was doing some research. So it looks like we would have to have 10% down or 20% down. And that would be this much. And you know what? I was reading this article and they said something about like a debt to income rate. Have you heard of that before? They say based on this, you know what I mean? Not you saying it. But just like, you know, we were talking about the house the other day. So I really started reading and trying to figure out how we can position ourselves to be able to get the type of house that we want to say, you know what I mean? Sorry. But, and then, you know, just say, yeah, I did, you know, something about a debt to income ratio. And they said it should be at this level. And, you know, I was looking at our credit report and we're kind of a little bit high, but if we do this, we can get it down and then we'll be able to qualify for the house that we both want. You know, just little things like that. Start with a dream and work your way backwards.
Because what you're saying that with it seeming like with men, it helps best when you bring the facts.
We need facts.
That's so true.
Right? Not the like, oh, come on, babe. Like, you know, like, but it's like, so the paper says
That's so true.
1 + 1 = 2, and that's why we're bringing another one.
We have to connect the dots.
That's so true.
All right, so the facts and logic, like men are, like, you know, you can feel a certain kind of way. I like that. Oh, she said awesome, thank you. So I like that. So Carolee, bring the facts. Show him where it's at.
And let me go
ahead. I'm sorry.
Also, too, write it out. That's something that I did with Talent. You know, we're in the midst of paying off our mortgage because we don't have any other debt except our mortgage. And so Talent kind of wanted to become a little lax and take some extra money and put it over here.
I ain't want to become lax.
Let me tell you.
I had some other financial goals in mind.
Let me tell you, I realized that talking was not helping. So what I did, one day he went to work, I grabbed a calculator and started writing out all these scenarios and put it on pen to paper. And then I showed him and stepped back.
I love it.
He's like, okay, Ty, let's do what you said. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, he just wanted to see it written out. He didn't want to hear me. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, we're not fantasy painters. Like we don't operate that way. Like it's one thing to say like, Superman, you need to elevate. You know, we trying to I need to get to the next level. Like that's like you just speak in Spanish. Like what is the next level? Like, are we talking about NBA 2K17? Like what do you mean next level?
I see what you mean. I think because you're right. Because when once we started talking about like, okay, we're gonna get married, let's buy a house. Once we started talking about buying a house, all of a sudden I'm seeing like this shift towards saving more, this shift, because before he was like gonna get another credit card. And I was like, why? And I just could not. He wanted to get a truck, and we had just paid off the car. Like, well, I bought my car in cash, and he had just paid off his car. And I'm like, now you want to get a truck? And I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't ban you, like, I ban you from getting a truck. Exactly. But then once we started talking about buying a house and like really sitting and talking with the mortgage broker about what we needed to do, all of a sudden, all of that went out the window. He was like, okay, you know, I was like,
men need tangible destinations.
That is asterisk. Men need tangible destination. I love that.
We need to know where we're going and why you're doing all this.
Yep.
So if I know that we're trying to get to this house in this neighborhood by this date, and that's why you're telling me the truck or the credit card is a bad idea. Now I got something to aim at. If you're just telling me that's not smart, like we're trying to elevate. I'm be like,
elevate.
Why don't you go elevate? I'm gonna get this truck.
Right? That's exactly. Every time I used to go to a speaking engagement and come back, I used to always call him like, please don't tell me to get a truck. Because I was like, I just felt like he was just to go to a speaking engagement and be like,
right, I got it.
Because he would be looking at trucks all day long on the computer. I'm like, this man is gonna go get a truck.
Well, what is that? What is that? The truck became the tangible destination.
Yes.
He was looking it up. He saw how much it would cost. If he put this down, this will be my monthly payment. We'll still be good. I can afford. You got to give us a tangible destination to get to that outweighs what we're trying to do.
I like that.
It wasn't. So I had some ideas about, entrepreneurship. They were good, sound financial goals, but her goal became more real to me. I saw it as a greater benefit to reprioritize. The goals that I have didn't disappear. They we rearranged the order of the priorities, and that became the first priority. So now all I see is that as a destination. So every decision that we make, even the ones I don't like, I know where we're trying to go.
Okay. I like that. Ooh, I feel good. I'm like, yes. I'm like, man needs it. I'm like, I'm about to, like, all right, I got next time we have a conversation, and be like, okay. All right, so Kay Camp asked, she said, I'm dating someone, and she's almost debt-free, but he has about $200,000 worth of student loan. He better be a doctor, girl. Yeah. She said, but with a job that pays $40,000, what are some of the conversations that we need to be having? So a student loan debt of $200,000, but a job that pays $40,000, and she's almost debt free. So I'm assuming she's thinking about this person of like a long-term possible marriage. If you're thinking about how their debt is going to affect you, what should they be talking about now?
So I don't think necessarily the numbers matter right now. It just matters, does he plan to stay in debt? Does he
get more?
Or go get more? We have interviewed over 150 people who've gotten out of debt, and some with like getting paid $30,000 a year. Okay. And the goal was to get out of debt, and they took that $30,000 that they made, and they made it stretch. Okay. And they became debt free. So I'm not saying that it can't be done, being paid $40,000, but does he want to stay in debt, or does he want to get out? That would be my question.
Yeah. So the question is, what should they do? They should start to have some real tough conversations.
How does he look at that?
About if they were to progress forward to become husband and wife, like how would we eliminate this $200,000? Like, are you willing to live on 50% of our income so we can take the other half and just hammer away at debt? Do you have that type of mentality? Do you have that type of fortitude? Do you have that type of drive to eliminate your debt? Or are you comfortable with being in debt because everybody else around you has debt as well? You know, like you need to have those tough mental, the conversations around the mentality, not so much, oh, you only make $40,000, but you got $200,000 worth of debt. Because if you make a plan, you can get out of the debt.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The numbers can be handled, but the mentality is something that y'all got to talk about.
Yeah.
If he or she has the mindset of, I hate this debt. I hate it so much that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get out of it. Now you got something to work with. You know what I mean? Y'all can begin to make plans, and you all can start to strategize and figure out different things, side hustling, taking on extra shit, you know, whatever you got to do. But you got to find out, do they have that type of mentality, or do they have a comfort with because their monthly payment is affordable to them? And
I also want to tell you, kudos to you. Congrats for almost becoming debt free. I think that's amazing. And I think that's actually what can win him over. There is nothing that a man despises more is if their woman seems like they're achieving more than them. And that makes them feel a little bit less masculine. So the fact that you're about to become debt free, I mean, that should hopefully be pushing him like, oh, okay, you see what she's doing. Maybe I need to handle this as well too.
Okay. So here's some of the things that I want to like just make sure that for those of you who might just have joined us, that this is Ty and Talat. They are McNeely.
Yep.
They are financial experts, especially when it comes to money, marriage, kids. And I asked them to come on today to really share that expertise. So some of the things we learned is that if you know that this person has the potential to be the one to start the money conversation, right? You don't have to like nag or push. But first, I really like what Talat said, that even before the money conversation, you should be observing the money mindset. Like how is it that they're maneuvering? And then you start the money conversation, like what's your credit score? How do you pay your bills? Those types of things. And then once you get into more serious relationship, if you have a difference of opinion, one, what I really like what Ty said earlier is that allowing you guys to both be individual people because you are. You know, and that, like she said, Talat was a spender and she was a saver, and she had to honor that all spending was not bad, and she took on some of those qualities, and he had to honor that, savings didn't mean less of a life, and she took on some of his qualities. So learning that you guys can both be individuals, but also take on some of the qualities of each other. And one of my big aha moments tonight was that if you're in a relationship with a man, and men are usually more logical and they need facts. So me telling Superman, like, I want us to do better and grow and elevate, those are intangible things that men need tangible destinations. Instead of getting a car or a truck, let's get a house. And then we can have concrete steps toward that goal. So these are just some of the things I wanted to make sure that you guys are catching. And let's see, Donna, she just said, at what point should you have those conversations? 6 months, 9 months into the relationship, meaning when should you ask those questions about income and debt? We kind of covered that a little bit, but I'm sure they don't mind sharing that again.
Yeah, I don't think there's a timeline on it, like 6 months, 9 months, because we've known people who met and were married in 9 months, So it depends on you. So the first season or so that you all are getting to know each other, one of the things that you should be getting to know is their habits around money. So you're observing, are they always pulling out that credit card? Yeah, I know you like the way he dressed now, but how is he paying for that? How is he always fly every time you see him?
I know people.
Is that debt or is that cash? You know what I mean?
I know people who got married and then she looked and realized that, like, all those fancy dinners and everything else, she's paying for her own dinner for 3 years.
That's exactly what's happening.
So you're observing, like, how they flow with money. Are they always, like I said, they're always dealing with credit, and they're always doing the fancy this and the fancy that, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but you should be observed, trying to figure out how are they able to do these things. Are they too comfortable with debt? What's their mentality around that? And then you can start to just have gradual conversations. You know what I mean? You can, you know, put it on yourself. Like if you're in a situation where you're paying off student loans and you're like, man, I'll be glad when I'm done with this student loan. You know what I mean? What about you? You got student loans? You know what I mean? Just little C's right there. And then, you know, based on the answer, like, yeah, who don't got a student loan? You know what I mean? I'm gonna have a student loan till I die. I'm like, hold up, bro. Hold up. What you mean you have a student loan till you die? You know what I mean? Like those type of things can be eye-opening, but they can lead to conversations that have more depth. But, you know, start out at observation, then start to have, you know, minor conversations or open-ended conversations. And then when you get to the place, and there's no, like I said, there's no like timeline on it. When you get to the place where you feel like this is getting serious, then the conversations need to start getting serious.
Okay. So Alan said, so he likes that. Oh, this is something else that we learned, right? There's a book called The Two-Income Trap by Elizabeth Warren. And ideally, that you and your spouse should really be living off one income. And so Alan says, if you're already working with a two-income budget, how do you suggest transitioning to a one-income budget? Our budget is stretched.
Well, then maybe you can't do 50%, but you don't have to live off 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you live off 75%? Can you live off 80%? And then start to discipline yourself to use 20% of your income to get out of debt or to build wealth, or even if it's 10%, just gradually try. If you can't go 50% right now, what can you do?
Yeah.
Don't make it 50% or it's just gonna be 100. Like do something and then try to pull back more and pull back more and pull back.
That's what I was about to say. We've counseled couples before in that same situation. Okay. And they ended up moving into a 2-bedroom apartment.
They downsized.
Okay. They have 3 children. So they were like, okay, we need to figure out how to make our money stretch. And if that means downsizing, then that's what we need to do.
You got to be willing to do something hard right now to get your life back. You know what I mean? That's something that we pump. Like Ty just said, if you have to be willing to do whatever it takes. So if you got to put your pride to the side and move into this 2-bedroom house for 2 years, so that in 2 years, your family can be debt free and have the next 50 years without a financial worry, then you got to be willing to do that. Don't just sit and say, well, my budget is stretched because I got $1,000 worth of car notes in the driveway and I'm in this 5-bedroom house and there's only 3 of us. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to really have a hard look, a hard conversation, a hard look in the mirror and say, man, what can we do? Maybe we can't get there's something. There is something that we can do to stretch ourselves to the point to give ourselves enough leverage to start to make some progress toward our goals.
I think people think that it's almost like they forgot. I always say people forget how they learned how to ride a bike. You remember when you rode your bike, you skinned those knees, you fell, your ankle got scraped by the little hard little pedal, but you knew that riding a bike, it was hard at first and it took a lot of practice. And then, you know, but you finally got it, you know, and I think that sometimes we forget that as an adult, that sometimes learning a new behavior looks like that. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. You're going to feel a little embarrassed because you're not going to know how to do it right. You know, your friends are going to look at you strange. You know, when your friends knew how to ride their bike and you didn't know how to ride yours, you're like, well, just give me a minute, right? You know, and sometimes you need a little help. I remember my dad used to hold on to the back of my bike and run as I was like pedaling, you know, and sometimes you need a little help. And so just knowing that like every new skill, there's going to be some, what is it called? A learning curve, you know, where it's not really cute in the beginning, but what are you willing to do? I think that was a great suggestion. So Donna asked, and remember guys, so also too, just know that you're not alone. Like one of the reasons why we have the Academy is that I'm always giving you access to experts, right? Like Ty and Talent, right? That here are experts that have created a course called Teach Me How to Budget, where you can sign up. I posted the link in the comments. I'll post it again, but I'll also put it inside the Academy and post it to the Facebook page for those of you who are watching live. It'll be pinned to the top of the Facebook page when we get off. That you also have access to things like that, to resources like that will walk you through a 30 video series that will walk you step by step to creating your budget. So it's up to you to decide, am I willing to do the work, because when you are, there's really nothing you can accomplish. So we have
that was a huge part of our ability to get out of debt in the first year.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we did was we educated ourselves together.
Okay.
We would read books together. We would watch personal finance TV shows together. We would find articles around personal finance, email them to each other, and discuss them together. Okay. And that led to us being able to make this progress because we were learning and we were growing and we were applying these things that we were learning.
Yeah.
Okay. So Donna says, what if you're dating a miser?
What's a miser?
A miser is somebody who's really tight with money. Like, you're like, Tyler, you're like, I might be with a miser now. I know, I could be a bit of a miser.
Why? Again, I'm real. Like, listen, money is very psychological.
Yeah.
It's very psychological. So this person could have really grown up with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Seriously. And they could be scarred from that. Like my mom, if you ever go to my mom's house, the refrigerator is packed. Deep freezer outside, packed. Cabinets packed. Why?
Expired food.
Why?
Okay.
Because they barely had food with you. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so she don't waste nothing. She'll make a gumbo that ain't really gumbo. It's just a bunch of other meat from the week.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because she grew up with nothing, she holds on to food.
You know what
I mean? So you got to figure out, like, is that the situation? Like, what's the reason that they're so tight with money? You know what I mean? You want to be wise and you don't want to blow your money, but you don't want to have your fist clenched, because when your fist is clenched, money don't go out, but money doesn't come in either.
Okay, yeah.
So get to there's something underneath there. You know what I mean? You got to unearth and figure out, like, why are you this way? You got to have fun sometimes too. Like, why aren't you down with that? You got to have those deeper conversations because it's not just, there's something underneath that for them to be so tight.
Severely tight. So Sherry asks, when you're in a relationship with someone and you witness them throwing their bill statements in the trash, what type of conversation should you have with that person, or should you just walk away?
Oh no, you definitely don't walk away.
Find out why.
Yeah, say, why did you throw that out in the trash?
Like, bro, you know that there's a due date on there. You know what I mean? Like why? Why are you ignoring your bills? It could be that they got auto bill pay and they don't need me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't assume like they're just ignoring it, but they might be ignoring it. But if you don't have the conversation, like, see, I don't do that. And then you just walk out the door. You know what I mean? You have to be willing to have those tough conversations. Like, babe, hey, I just saw that you just kind of threw that in trash and you didn't pay it.
Yeah.
Just like, what's up? Like, what's going on? And
it sounds like they might be avoiding, just like you're avoiding talking to them about it. They might be avoiding it. I'm telling you, there were times when I got the pink envelope, then the red envelope, and I was like, I don't want to open it.
Yeah. So that's a question you got to have. Is it avoidance or is it something else? And if it's avoidance, why are you avoiding? Is there something like, we're in this together, babe. You know what I mean? Like, you can trust me, you can talk to me, we can work through this, but I can't help you if you don't let me in.
And let me tell you something, the fact that they can be very bold enough to throw it out in front of you or in your presence, you have to have that same boldness to ask them, why are you throwing it out? Because they're obviously not hiding. They're really doing it out in the open. So I would definitely get to the bottom of that.
So Donna, who asked about the miser, she said, light bulb just went off. You're so right. They grew up in a family of 12.
Oh, that's
they always have to scrape and claw for their, if you just look at the dynamic amongst siblings, like they probably have to hold on to their toy. Hold on to their clothes. Because somebody else might, you know what I mean?
Yeah, my father grew up in a family with 8 children, and they didn't have a lot of money, and so food was really tight. My grandmother would have to make sugar water all the time, and sometimes that's all they had before they went to bed.
Wow.
But their father got to eat, and they literally all used to fight over the bones on his plate. Because it was 8 of them. So whoever got there first got to eat off those bones. So maybe that's exactly what it is. It was 12 siblings. He's probably holding on to everything he has because he doesn't want to struggle.
And he needs to know that it's okay to loosen up a little bit.
That's where you're going to come in. You're going to be able to teach them.
We're not there. It's me and you. We're in this together. You know what I mean? Maybe they don't even realize the root.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oftentimes you don't. You're right. I never thought about that. See, that's why having these conversations and being a part of things like this, whether it's the Teach Me How to Budget class with Ty and Talent that they have, like I said, I'll share the link with you. So I'll share the link with you in the Academy and also in the Facebook group. Or whether you're part of the Dream, the Live Richer Academy. That's why it's so important because you have to radiate from where you are, meaning you learn the lessons here and then you share it with those around you. And because we personally can't touch every single person, you know, but through you, we can help the people in your life if you would just share that information with them, you know? Sure. Eve has a good question. Maybe we'll make this a last. If anybody has one last question, because y'all know y'all have to wait till the last minute. And I'm like, last question, all of a sudden. So Eve asked, how do I encourage my semi-retired, laid off, and 61 years old, semi-disabled, he has some sort of arthritis, husband, to talk to me about what he can do and allow me to brainstorm with him. So her husband is semi-retired, he's laid off, and he's in his early 60s, and he's also semi-retired, semi-disabled. Because she wants to talk to him about like what can he do, I guess, to contribute financially to the household. How does she get him to talk to her about that?
You know, he could be in a place of
depression,
not feeling valuable.
Depression. I mean, he's disabled. Yeah.
You know, the disability, the fact that he got laid off, those are very emasculating. Yeah. He could be in a place to where he doesn't feel as strong in his manhood as he once did. So those conversations are going to be tough, and they're going to have to be gradual. Okay. They're going to have, again, it's going to come down to the nuts and the bolts. These are our bills, and this is our income. You know, what do you think we can do to help our situation? Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm willing to do whatever it takes. You know, I'm willing to go do this and go do that, and make sure, you know, that we continue to survive and thrive. You know, I just want you to know that I love you, and that, you know, you're going to have to reaffirm his manhood. Okay. I'm thinking, you know, without having all the context. Yeah. But there's a very strong likelihood that he feels a bit emasculated by the circumstances of life. And it's going to take, you know, for a married man, there's nothing like hearing a vote of confidence from your wife. You know, you can hear it from coworkers, you can hear it from supervisors, but it doesn't hold the same weight that it does coming from your wife. And so you may have to spend a season or some time just reaffirming who he is to you, how much you love and appreciate him as a man, you know, just dealing with that manhood and building him back up, and then start to have those gradual talks about the numbers and the situation and how we can improve the situation. Because I think you're going to have to start with building him back up first. Okay. You know what I love about this is because you're starting to learn that it's not really the money. Money or whatever their financial situation is, right? We're learning that it's the result. So the money is a result of this underlying cause, and really getting to that why, right? Tally kept saying that over and over tonight, that like, if you only focus on the money, they'll be right back. That's it. You know, right back at it. But so it's like, okay, if we can figure out, well, how did you get here and why are you here? Then we can make sure once we get our way out that we don't see ourselves back in this hole again. That's right. Yep. That's the bottom line up front. You're going to have to deal with behavior. You're going to have to deal with circumstances. You're going to have to deal with habits before you start dealing with percentages and interest rates and things of that nature. So yeah, I see. So Eve just gave a little follow up. She said, oh, he has always provided for the family. We have 2 grown sons, and even though I've always worked, so he's always, so for him not to be able to provide, that has got to be a blow. Because trust me, he's thinking about it. He knows that he has provided in some way or some shape or form because he's done it all these years. So he just probably doesn't know how to say it. Yeah, he doesn't know how to process it. He doesn't know how to process it. He doesn't understand how did I get here? What do I do next? You know, he's in his 60s. He probably feels like, you know, what can I do? He's going to need to be reaffirmed. He's going to need to be reaffirmed. Build him up. I love that. See, this is why it's so great, because sometimes I know we women we mean well, but you ask your women make the mistake sometimes of asking advice about their husband or the significant other or whatever man it is in their life, if they're dating a man, that they'll ask other women solely. And sometimes it's hard because you're like, well, girl, this is what, well, how do you know, girl? Right, that's true. Sometimes you have to hear from another man. Yes,
because especially, because how can you really know? Because I come from a different space and place when I'm sharing. Like if I wasn't able to bring money to the table, it would be something different for me. I would feel differently about it, versus like if my dad was not able to bring money to the table, he would feel completely different about that than my mom would. And so you're needing, that's why these conversations are so important, because you're needing to see the perspective of the person who's similar to the type of person that you're speaking about. So this has been awesome. Let's see if anybody has one last. Oh, everybody's like, I love y'all.
We love y'all.
So again, you can find more of Ty and Talent at his, all spelled out, hisandhermoney.com. That is their website. They have a blog, but even more importantly, the foundation for your whole financial life, the foundation for credit, for debt, for investing, net worth, wealth building, everything is budget. BUDGET, budget. I mean, I created the Budgetnista around that thought, right? And so they've got this awesome 30 video series course called Teach Me How to Budget, right? And so what's comes to the worksheet?
So definitely, you can definitely work on it if you're married, with your spouse, or with your significant other, whoever.
By the time this course is over, you'll be a pro. You can't be anything but a pro.
So I love that. So what that means is that, I used to be a school teacher, and Talent is currently a teacher. And so what that means is that you get to learn in a way that honors you. You want to visually see, you got it. You want to write down a notebook, you got it. You want to hear, you got it, And so you'll have this resource for you. So I'm going to place the link for Teach Me How to Budget and I'm going to pin it to the top of our Facebook page, but it'll also be inside the Academy with this lesson. I ask this moving forward, we do this every time now. If you learned something, and I know you did, I want you to give me your aha moment, your thing, that light bulb went on, like this is something that I really took away from tonight's lesson. And Ty and Talent, so what's your Facebook name?
It's our names combined, Talent, Ty McNeely. So
TALAAT. So you'll see. So just type in TALAAT and they should populate. And so Talent and Ty McNeely, it'll come up inside the Facebook group. So I want you to tag them and either one, tell them whatever major lesson that you learned, or ask them an additional question. If you have an additional question, they're inside the Facebook group. Remember to use the hashtag Ask the Expert, because Ty and Talent, you can also type that into the search box. And I'm gonna show y'all again, because sometimes I'm like, y'all like 80 years old. Ask the Expert. So I'm talking about to the dream builders, because I'm like, some people don't know how to use nobody's hashtag. I'm like, it's all one word. So when you're doing that, Ask the Expert. And my handwriting is terrible. All one word. Ask the Expert. No S. So when you type it, so you might say at Talent and Ty tonight. I'll tell you my big takeaway, that men need tangible destinations, right? So I'll say at Ty and Talent, thank you so much for tonight's lesson. My takeaway was men need tangible destinations. Hashtag Ask the Expert, so that they can find you one of those two ways. I'm also going to, like, if you head now, like I said, to the Facebook group, if you're watching live, I'm going to pin the links to their course, also to the book that they mentioned, to the top of the group page, and you can rewatch this. This is inside the Academy. So do you have any one last thing you want to say, guys, before we sign off? Just
continue to fight for your financial freedom. It's so very, very important.
Yeah, we want you guys to know that where you're at right now is not the final destination.
Okay.
When 11 years ago when we got married, I had horrible credit. I had a bunch of debt. I had horrible spending habits, and I'm not that person anymore.
Okay.
Because we did the work. You guys are here in the Dream Builders Live Richer Academy doing the work. And if you continue to do the work, if you continue to follow the lead of Tip, you guys are going to win.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, thank you. All right, y'all. I will see you in the group. See you in the group. Good night, y'all.